Good evening and welcome to Connecting Point. I'm Jim Madigan. There are 800 foster children across Massachusetts waiting to be adopted. Finding families for older kids can be a challenge. Teenagers have often been waiting years to find a family to call their own. Our Carolee McGrath spoke with Joseph Sandagato of the Massachusetts Adoptive Resource Exchange and his own son, whom he adopted when he was 15 years old.
So the Massachusetts Adoption Resource Exchange was actually founded in 1957. And we like to say that our role is to help connect children with families. And so we're among the oldest adoption resource exchanges in the country, and we belong to a network. But here in the Commonwealth, our primary goal is to create awareness and exposure around the need for adoption from foster care, to work within the community to make those connections. We're not an agency per se, so we're not directly making the connections. I think of us more like a conduit, right? We help families and children to match for placement. And so that's really the primary focus of our work, is to help create families.
So specifically, though, there's a need for parents to adopt older kids and teenagers. Tell me a little bit about that part of the mission.
Sure. So here in the Commonwealth, and I'll just explain a little bit, I think, about the background. There's some 8,700 children in foster care. And so the goal is always to reunify children with families. And when that can't happen, then children are placed on an adoption track. So in the foster care process, the goal is for children to return home. Right. But when they can't, the children go on an adoption track. There's still the goal of placing them with family, and in many cases, extended family, and kinship placements fill that role. But for some 800 children here in the Commonwealth, there is no connection. And so MARE works with social workers and agencies and families to create those connections for those children who don't already have them.
And it's the teens, though, that seem to be...
And the teens are a fairly large contingent. And so the teens are very resilient, great kids, and so we work to assure that they are able to showcase their talents and are able to tell their stories, and that's very important because it helps them to connect with people out in the community.
So Devin, you've been a Sandagato for about 3 years or so. Tell us your story.
At the age of 5, I was placed in foster care. In the past 10 years, I was in foster care, and at the age of 15, I was adopted by my 2 dads and my family.
And how, I think for, many people watching, as parents, you'd be completely heartbroken thinking that at 5 years old, you're in foster care, and just the emotions that you must have gone through. Can you describe that at all for us?
As I got taken away from my mother, it's kind of hard, and then after going through a few homes, I was a bit scared, and then after going through a few homes, I kind of got used to it, and yeah.
Were you always hoping that somebody was just going to, show up someday and say, hey, I want to adopt you?
When I was younger, yes, but after going through so many homes, I kind of lost that.
Did you kind of build a wall, where you weren't trusting people?
Yes.
So how was that connection made with your dad? When you met him,
yep.
Were you like, I'm not going with anyone, or were you open to being adopted?
I was open.
Okay, and tell why. You were 15. At 15, yes. You have a mind of your own,
yeah.
Right? Teenagers do. And what was it about the family that made you say, yeah, I want a permanent situation here?
As I got older, I wanted to get a family that loved me, and I was open to that.
And there's a lot of kids in the family. Let's say there's 7.
There's 7 children.
So, and you were okay with that?
Yes.
You're walking in, what?
Yeah.
15, and there's all these kids, but you were number 5.
Yes.
You were number 5. Joseph, so tell us a little bit about the number of kids. You have 7, I just said.
Sure.
And they're all adopted.
They're all adopted, and so over the past 20 years, my spouse and I started the process back in the late 90s. And it's ironic that our connection to MARE goes back that far. Our first 2 children were actually Massachusetts Adoption Resource Exchange children that we met at an event, just like we met Devin at an event. And so from that point forward, our family grew. So we have 2 biological siblings that came to us at 4 and 8. My next son came to us when he was just shy of his 9th birthday. And then a related sibling, my daughter, came to us. She was related to the first 2 boys came to us, and then Devin, and just a couple of years ago, we met another sibling group, a couple of little guys who, ironically enough, came to us at 4 and 8, almost 20 years later. So it's been quite an interesting journey.
And I think when you think of parents who are looking to adopt, a lot of times the first thing that comes to mind is they want to adopt a baby. So I would imagine for an older kid hoping to get a home, you're always thinking, well, I mean, maybe you're not thinking this, but I've heard this. Well, maybe somebody's not going to want me because I'm 12.
Yeah.
Is that an exaggerated emotion, or is that something that people really go through?
Yes, because of as a teen, they can give a lot to a family, and you just have to give them a chance.
Right, but did you ever feel like that? Did you, as you became 13 and 14, did you ever lose hope?
Yeah.
You did? And how did you get through that? You were in different families.
Yeah.
Did you have people to talk to about that? Did you just always kind of keep it in your heart that someday this is going to change?
Just kept it in my heart.
And how did you deal with that as a father? So you have little kids. Now you're taking in a 15-year-old who might not want to listen to you.
Right.
And that might be a real fear of parents who are saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to adopt a teenager.
I think that there are a lot of fears, and many of them, probably well founded in sort of the projection aspect of it, right? But in real life, I think a lot of those fears in the light of day aren't recognized. And so for us, Devin fit very neatly into our family, I will say that, because at that time, before having the little guys come in, he kind of was stacked in with everybody, right? So he was the second oldest. A couple of our older boys had started their college journey, and so for us it became an opportunity to grow our family, but not necessarily, I always say, change the end game, right? Change the end goal, right? That age when you have everybody off to college and so forth. And so for us it really fit very, very well. But Devin is a remarkable kid. And it was evident. I always tell people, so I teach some parenting classes and do some other work in the community as well, and I always say to people, it's a bit like falling in love. People say to me, how do I know when I've found my child? How do I know when? You just know.
And you met at was it a
We
party,
actually-
or what was
We met
it?
so MARE, part of what we offer is an opportunity for families who've gone through a particular process, we call it the home studying process, in the training process, to get together with waiting children in various environments. And so one of our big sponsors is Jordan's Furniture, and they have a number of signature events. And it just so happened that I was at an event, and Devin was there with his worker, and we got to, kind of have a brief encounter. We didn't spend a whole lot of time together that day, but he really just, for some reason, it just clicked. And so we pursued, getting more information through his worker, and kind of went through the channels. And it became very, very obvious that he was a great fit. But of course, as a teen, as you said, at that time, 14, almost 15, you're established, right? You're a young person. And so it was equally important that Devin felt like he was a fit with us. So we took some time to make sure that was the case.
And so you are a senior in high school. Where are you going next year?
To the Navy.
Excellent. Well, good luck to you. Thank you, Devin and Joseph, for sharing your story. And if people want more information, they can go to your website?
They can, and that is mareinc, MAREINC.org.
Thanks for joining us, guys.